most money kill we have here potentially in Modern Warfare 2. Oh! There you go, reality has been heard and he has been swiftly dealt with. Now Eons, the 1 versus 3. There's 2. Surely not again. Surely not again. Surely not again! Eons!
Reload comes through. No shots being taken. Gecko. Oh, Gecko finds the shot.
For this, Phenom is not in a position to check this. Hold on a second. If the kill comes through, maybe there's a chance to hold the defuse, but no!
It sounds gonna be popped. Gecko down low.
What?
Doesn't win the gunfight. Then the next on the exit. No way. Dak gets away with the 1v3.
Slow-mo to check. Shots land! Wait! He may have gotten it!
Did he get it?
It's gonna be tight! He gets it with time to spare!
Welcome to Championship Sunday here at the Blog Arenas in Columbus, Ohio for the College COD Finals for the 2023 season. It's been a real epic trail to this point. We only have 6 teams, though, that now still remain. My whole shift with me, I've got Proper. Boy, I'll tell you, the first day of action, I won't say was not entertaining, but it did kind of leave us wanting, I think, just a touch. Our top 2 teams are looking really, really clean, and the teams that now have to fight the lower bracket and start our day really have to prove something to us.
It's not very often that the prequel ends up succeeding that of the original, but here in the second time at LAN for College COD, we are getting all of those goods delivered our way and always wanting more. The teams have showed up, teams have gotten upset, individuals popping off. Alan, I can't wait to start Championship Sunday.
Oh boy, we had a really exciting first day worth of action. As mentioned, 8 teams started us here in Columbus. We started with a group stage phase, 2 different groups of 4. Everyone played each other once. The top 2 would make it into the playoff bracket to the winners bracket. The third place team would make it into the bracket from the lower side. They will start lower round 1. Then, of course, our teams that finish at the bottom have been eliminated to this point. We had a really interesting and kind of exciting finish, though. Our last match on broadcast was that St. Edwards versus Davenport game. Both teams were 0-2. It was a win and go in, lose and go home situation. So we say farewell to Davenport and New Mexico State in top 8 this year. A cut short from where Davenport was last year, but I got to say, you got to give your flowers to New Mexico State. They played in a really tough division. They really proved themselves as being maybe the future of what we could see in college COD.
Everybody counted them out. Throughout all of the regular season, through playoffs, through the qualifiers, the Aggies were always looked at that team that potentially could be there. They were able to showcase a couple of those arguments just last season, but they finally make it to LAN. Yeah, came up short, but at least you still made it to the end of the road if you're the Aggies. Davenport, obviously, say what you will. I mean, it was a tough group. I mean, you're there with Fisher. The Dragons were showing up yesterday in that do or do not situation versus St. Edwards yesterday. It just came down to a mere inches of what the Hilltoppers were able to outcome.
Well, with that, our top seeds make it into the upper bracket. We saw winners round 1 action to start. Northwood, they were tested by the University of North America Dragons, but still survived through it, 3-1 overall. And then we had a barn burner. Oklahoma Christian and Fisher just slapping at each other with rocks. I don't know, but it was it was nuts. Map 5 affair. That went down to the wire. Eventually, Oklahoma Christian, though, would best Fisher Esports, who are now looking for their pathway to revenge. Our first match on broadcast today, kind of saw it already. St. Clair will be playing up against that Fisher Falcons team, and then we'll have the University of North America Dragons playing up against St. Edwards at the exact same time. Both matches, I would assume both will be pretty solid. St. Clair, I know that they're coming in not really having gotten a lot of airtime at the moment, but don't sleep on this Saints team. They're looking like the best form that St. Clair has put out in the last couple of years.
Alan, how many times have we casted CCL, and at the end of the year, the Saints always become a conversation that they are last quarter reapers. And it's, again, it's something as far as a 4-player roster you absolutely cannot sleep on. Fisher looked vulnerable yesterday in a lot of different circumstances, specifically in the search and destroy and control. I got a chance to actually talk with Zarin earlier, the coach for St. Clair, and he has a lot of good insight that the veto process is where they could potentially win. You just got to be able to keep up with the gun skill that Fisher does bring to the table.
That is a pretty notable point, but of course, what are we playing for here? We've got a really fancy trophy. That thing on the left, that is a real thing. It is very, very awesome. First place, we'll take 16 grand out of the 40,000 total as well. Second place, half that at 8K. 6,000 for third, 4,000 for fourth. You finish top 6, aka you lose this opening round. You will finish with 2 grand, and then of course 7th and 8th. Davenport and New Mexico State both come away still with $1,000 and at least some LAN experience at the least. So really awesome stuff here to see the prize pool just kind of continue to grow year after year. The trophy's looking awesome, I'll tell you that much. We'll see that, I'm sure, broadcast at some point in time. But now we got to start talking about this matchup, and you bring up a very good point here. St. Clair always comes looking really solid when it comes to LAN. haven't quite been able to break through that top 6 threshold yet, and they've got a tough opponent in Fisher, but like you mentioned, they did look pretty vulnerable yesterday.
They sure did, and they've looked vulnerable, specifically in the Search and Destroy, since their early goings. Their first match was against St. Edwards, the Hilltoppers, and that Search and Destroy was anything but competitive. St. Edwards did a great job just being able to put them on the back foot, and honestly speaking, how early that all of St. Clair did show up on the day, they're ready for war.
Yeah, that's looking like it, but let's take the moment here and introduce your Fisher Falcons.
Successful enough to be down to 10 seconds to get to A as fast as you can. Guns is simply so annoying in your back line, and that's going to be the round. You can look at those green arrows on the minimap looking for the rotation for P2. They were not able to get this last time around, so they put a little bit more emphasis, but still fall flat on their face. Look at that, Gunzy and Rex. Just an unstoppable duo right now.
This Fisher team, you can promise one thing. Hard points are going to likely go their way.
Yep.
Have not lost a hard point yet this weekend, but the question marks come in the 2, 3, and the 5. That's where Oklahoma Christian beat them yesterday. They actually have not won a Search and Destroy yet on LAN, if I'm not mistaken, so that's not good. But then I think on top of that, it's just what's going to happen here with the control. I think the biggest thing about it is Rex, Silly, and Gunzy, they're all looking really solid, but Rampy hasn't played the majority of the year outside of playing in College COD, and he had a really rough day yesterday.
Yeah, he sure did. I mean, again, talking with a lot with Fisher, it's just this 4-player roster. It's about coming together as a collective. The only Search and Destroy that they won yesterday was actually against the Dragons of University of North America. They lost the control in that series, but as you were talking about, the 2-3-5 becomes an immediate consideration for this team. They show a lot of good light spots, but you got to talk about Gunzy just as a quick giving of a flowers moment. He tweeted out that this is his AM Finals. He would not be at Champs this following weekend, and he is just ready to absolutely bring the heat here on the day. Number 1 statistical player that we have on the weekend so far.
Big stat, considering that he's in lower round 1. On the other side of the screens, we've got the St. Clair Saints introducing the boys from Canada.
You can take down the planter. May not matter. Bomb planted. Kills do come through. Bendy for the double. Not really sure why DJ even bothers to check that, but may have killed off too much time. There's the shots to land. Now the 1v1. Bendy. Slow-mo to check. Shots land! Wait! He may have gotten it!
Did he get it? Oh,
He gets it with time to spare!
God.
St. Clair, they started their day yesterday in a pivotal matchup. They had the number 3 versus the number 4 seed match versus New Mexico State, and they looked really convincing in it. 3-0, didn't really sweat at all throughout it, but then, of course, the rest of their group started to kind of feel their way into it. They only won a single map versus Oklahoma Christian, although that series was closer than the score may suggest. And then, well, Northwood was Northwood. So for St. Clair, it's kind of about trying to figure out where you're most vulnerable, try to patch the holes, and see if you can maybe find a way to upset Fisher here.
I will say this much. I mean, even still taking the round 11 Search and Destroy off of Oklahoma Christian is respectable on Hotel nonetheless. This is a team that obviously has a lot of tools at their disposal. It's very easy when you look at these 4-player roster. Bendy, Brandon, Priestley, Relays. What jumps off the page immediately, it's always Priestley, isn't it? With the AR in hand, he's always in the right position. Guy is an absolute laser beam in his hands. It's about piecing it together so that way his SMGs can get in these very threatening positions to make sure that they come together as a collective.
Yeah, this is an interesting squad because they had a really good regular season. They were 18-3, but they were mostly vulnerable, as most of our teams are. They were mostly vulnerable in the Search and Destroys. Yeah. So we talk about playing up against this Fisher squad, and that's where you kind of have to win. You know, it's one of those things that you kind of don't really have the groundwork to necessarily say that, yes, they will win the 2 and the 5 for sure if they can get it all the way there. This may be a series where they need to steal away a respawn from this Fisher team because it doesn't really feel like there's much convincing statistics on one side for St. Clair to sit there and say, this is where you definitely have an edge over the Fisher Falcons.
And again, that's where the conversation does have to start, and, well, where it continues on is that when you do set yourself up for success, if you have to steal a respawn, I like that conversation. It is always around the best of 5 map set. It's always around the vetoes. You got to make sure that you did your homework late last night for the Saints. Taking a look at how many games Fisher have played, what are the maps that you would rather play?
Well, with that perfect segue there, brother, we've got the best of 5 series layout at the ready for us, so let's take a look to see where exactly this lower round 1 action will pertain. We've got a Fortress opening up. That is St. Clair's selection. Interesting, to say the least. Embassy, Search and Destroy, Expo, Control. And then if St. Clair were to win this series, you think you would see a fourth, if not also a fifth, and that would both pertain to Mercado. Any thoughts here on this map set as it comes up on screen?
The Mercado Search and Destroy is definitely interesting for Fisher to allow to come all the way through. You know, talking to Parker, so take this with a grain of salt. Shout out Parker. Is that when they were playing up against Oklahoma just yesterday, that they allowed Mercado to Search to come all the way through. Not exactly a comfort pick for them, but I mean, for the 4-player roster, if it does end up going that far, you would think that they would definitely have the tools to be able to make that convert into their favor, with like Gunzy going like 13-6 for the L. But I think the Fortress Hardpoint, I'm actually very glad to see that. St. Clair, their hard veto is the Hydra Hardpoint. They'll end up playing Fisher there, I promise you that much. They played it 4 times on the weekend. They have not lost it a single time. And it's one of those map mode combinations that the Saints, talking with them this morning when they were coming into the venue, that they feel really confident on, very comfortable that is a map mode combination for Fortress Hardpoint that they could take off of Fisher.
Tall ask.
Yeah,
they
sure
did
is.
beat New Mexico State on it pretty well, but I mean, Fisher, this is their best mode by far. It's their bread and butter, and you definitely feel the presence of the names on the roster when you get a respawn in Hardpoint in particular. Maybe not so much on the control, but I think the biggest thing about it is, like you mentioned, for players like Gunzy, this is kind of do or die time. Same situation for Rex. They're just kind of trying to finish out the year in a hideout, see what they can put together here, win themselves hopefully a championship in their mind, but lots of things from yesterday still lurking in the dark shadows over the top of today, this lower round 1 matchup against the Saints team that you do not want to sleep on. Fortress Hardpoint, lower round 1 action. Let's get it out.
Starting off on the favorite side, Fisher will get control of the munitions building, but St. Clair, I just run at them straight out from benches. They're going to leave relays behind up through top maps and expect the push to come through. And although it comes through a little slowly, St. Clair are still getting control of the street side with a lot of time still left to play.
Gunzy clears out one freebie on the second, and then also, well, he would have had a read onto Brandon, but he had help from Silly. So break comes through, 7 seconds of time tallied for St. Clair, but they are under threat of being trapped on the right side of the map already. Not good news here. Need to find a couple of exit kills. Priestley, Bendy do provide those. So, okay, now a chance to start making your way across the map. Spawns for Fisher should still be good, and they are. And on top of that, Gunzy still the hard point. Was on 3 in a row. St. Clair pushes through the old time, and that actually works out for a hefty route, trying to make their move over towards the left side of the map.
I'll say it was a very interesting decision by the Saints. You know, typically when you end up getting those P3 spawns yet again, and there's like less than 20 seconds, you try to end up flooding through the double arches. They actually elect to try to go through P1 through the old time, get control of the street side, 2 more kills come their way, and now they're going to start flooding through munitions and streets.
Fisher should spawn out here, but no, wait, they're not actually fully blocked in the back. Priestley gets a read on this, though, and how about it? That will flip things around. Priestley still working to get into the hard point. Silly was hoping for a challenge from the front that didn't come through. Gunzy does what he can to hold on, but it's not going to be enough. 35 seconds to fight for. Fisher, quick off the respawn, trying to re-break this right through doors. Relays. Oh, he gets stunned up and then absolutely beamed through the gallows. Double up throw for Priestley. He keeps the hard point in favor of the Saints, and now he's got a little bit of help. Gunzy going to be challenged out. Kill comes through. Last one to get would be Rex, but no, he wins the double. Last 1v1 is against Relays. That will still go the way of St. Clair. It's been a scrappy battle, but St. Clair will take the scrap time.
That's a big 2-piece for Relays for 2 different reasons. Obviously, the scrap time will end up going your way, but you also just took Rex off of a 5 spree. Early streaks here on Fortress could be a dagger into the back of the Saints. But now you have to break Fortress Solitude.
Oh,
that
huge.
is P3, able to find the open and kill top maps. Spawn very close here for Bendy. They can start threading this pretty quickly.
Fisher, little 3v4 situation. Have to get these kills. Get him quickly. First 2 are good. Next hit comes from the front. Silly's got to read it. Help from Gunzy's on the way. And Bendy's now the last one left. St. Clair had one heck of an effort. Tried to break through early, but it gets ultimately shut down. Rex up top, looking for where the next hit's going to come from. Good read on Bendy. Gunzy also finds a couple down low. Rex overwhelmed. Still a chance here for St. Clair to break this from the back. Gunzy on 5, though. Letting him know about it, too. 10-5 start for Gunzy. Ramby will follow up in the exact same top maps position, and with that, Fisher will hold the full time.
I'll say this much, that St. Clair, they are definitely one of the loudest teams that we've had here on Land of the 8 that did come through here into Ohio, but definitely don't want to be shooting bodies too early. You definitely want to make sure that you can at least get yourself that leader's advantage. That's what Fisher Falcons have been able to do off of that money hill of P3. Will now be leading by just under 60. So I think that what you're mostly looking for now, if you are Fisher, just try to do exactly what you did through the opening rip. Try to find a couple picks, then work your way through these very focus points into munitions. St. Clair's setup, especially with Brandon top tree, looking for the next on a Rex down low, would be a big kill. Can't find it. Will still maintain Fisher at least on the back foot for now, but they found the kills, and now they're in the hill.
Yeah, St. Clair, though, is spawning out. Fisher with numbers on the hard point. Also not secured enough to get the proximal spawns. Relays will ensue. further hit forward. Ramby last one left, and he will be tracked down. Brandon getting the double. So how about this for St. Clair? Quick re-break coming through, 25 seconds to the fight for it. Fisher spawning all the way back behind P3 at the moment. Working for an angle and trying to work this likely from the bottom through Art, but Brandon gets a read on it. Priestley's just throwing the normal snake heady over the top of the site itself, but no, it's not really going to fully work out here, and actually Fisher just going to back off and let this last 7 seconds go the way of St. Clair.
Nobody inside of Stables. Gunsy needs to hold this positioning, and how good has he been so far through this hard point? 13-9 for him. Dylan's up to 14-9 as well. The usual suspects, if you will. Allen showing up so far within this first set. P5 is a fickle monster. You got to get past Gunsy first. There's nobody inside of the Stables. A big 1v1 over by P1 will kind of make this hardpoint rather vulnerable, and now you can focus inside of maps where Ramby is located at, starting to shoot his teammates as well. He's shooting everything that's moving. Ramby will go on a 3 spree momentarily as Fisher maintain presence in the hill.
And Silly's got like, stop it! I mean, I'm your teammate! Stop this! Fisher will stay the hard point though. Lead continuing to grow. Back to a 125-79 tally. St. Clair do find a chance to break with 20 seconds to play. Ramby, now with just enemies in front of him, has a chance to still burst forward. And nice long-range shots onto Bendy. Ramby just needs to find one more, but Priestley in the corner denies. And with that, scrap time looks good for St. Clair. Rotation for Fisher kind of being stretched a little bit. Gunsy trying to play through this outside alley. Brandon nearby, neither player sees one another. Finally, Gunsy gets the tally, and with that, Fisher should have a chance to at least control space around P1.
Big forward position to actually take for Gunsy, and that is a veteran maneuver for Sabby, just to make sure that they don't continuously spawn over by P3. They're actually going to be able to get those munition spawns ahead of the second set. Big 15, 18 seconds that St. Clair were able to get off of P5, kept the lead at least marginal, but now we're just trying to jostle for position in the middle of the map, try to count some numbers, try to find some heads, especially because St. Clair are soaking up so much time, but they've lost track of Rex. He is still inside munitions, by the way. Big trade to find for yourself, but you lost the spawns for new.
Yeah, the thing about that was Rex was the last one left, so St. Clair still feeling pretty confident in their kills. Turns this as a chance to maybe even take the lead here. Silly going to try to contest. Semtex goes deep. He's going to check the backside of this truck. And as he does, Priestley turns them away. Okay, how about that? Priestley gets another. So the scrap time now good. St. Clair's going to take the lead. Fisher's in trouble. The only player on rotation was Rampage. He gets cut down. You've got Priestley watching the cross. He's still finding kills. One more behind bench. Not going to work out. Next hit for Fisher largely has to amount to anything through mid or from the front. Couple of kills come through, but Gallows opens up for St. Clair.
Silly finds a big kill, topped up steps. Now that's not going to break up the spawns whatsoever, but your teammates need assistance, and Priestley is understanding that right now. He just comes right through the side door, just shoots Ramby right in the side, knows he has a big 1v1 for top rails positioning, running out of bullets to the knife. Make sure you try to favor towards the reload, but while all that was happening, you ended up having players flank around the back. Again, that doesn't happen if Silly doesn't find that initial kill on top dub steps. And now it's Fisher maintaining presence in the hill.
St. Clair needs to make a decision right here, right now. Ramby was playing over towards New, but you already had a couple of state members that wanted to play for the exit. Not going to work out. So they do neutralize and hold on to the right side of the minimap for the next hard point, but this is going to cost a lot of time. About 25 seconds of the scrap time going to be freely earned by Fisher. And as they start to get kills across the map, the spawns for St. Clair should be towards ult, and they are. Brandon has to hold this position. He gets pushed off. Help from Relays nearby, but he also drops. So now it's really just down to Priestley with a sub on the point itself. Fisher are going to push through. That's going to block spawns, if not maybe even win them. And how about St. Clair? They're getting completely throttled from the hard point. Relays gets a double. They just need to find Gunsy. Last one left. He gets taken down, and the Saints will retain.
What a massive turnaround for Relays. It happened just before we hopped on his POV, but to understand fully that the numbers for Fisher were not going to be over by the Falcon side, that they were going to be spawning directly behind them. A big wave of gunfights come their way. Relays is now on 3 in a row. The setup is in. Relays is still finding kills. We had a good look for number 5, but Rex will find that trade. A very successful hard point for the Saints, but Fisher, they are still knocking at the door.
Wow, Bendy, what a savior. Rex and Silly got away with a 2v3 for a moment. Bendy was the last one left, and he saves the scrap time for now. Still Silly trying to contest this, but will back off as I think this is Fisher saying, wait a second, we don't want to lose control of munitions. And as they find the kills, they should surely be able to open up the hard point to their name. But boy, that was a punishing hard point. St. Clair grow their lead to 30+.
And it was a really good decision. You asked about trying to make that split decision. Do you try to fight for the 20 seconds over by P2, or do you try to go all in for P3? They hesitate on that call. The lead does not look the same way. Fisher are chalking it. They put themselves in a position to set themselves up around munitions, but it's mostly all through the street side. You have players that are inside of munitions and over by the streets. Nobody's watching the back Gallows flank. Priestley via the dead silence is in from behind.
Trying to block. Gunzy on the chase. Rex will still spawn over towards Gallows. The rest of St. Clair having a hard time even getting across the middle of the map at the moment. Vasily drops. Here comes the hit. 2 kills for Fisher. Make it 3. Last one left would be Bendy. And honestly, he's got to just wait for his life and wait for his friends to get here.
Yeah.
Will do so nicely. Hit trying to mount around the back, but Fisher has gotten the read. Trades come through. Ramby holding the side door. 210 to 198. Fisher now with the lead. Priestley gets an opening double. Gunzy in trouble. Finesses. Not going to quite finish things off, but Silly will get the trade. And with that, Fisher will get to 215 plus.
It'll be about 218 to 200. That little bit of contest that comes through from the Saints will allow them to benefit from the spawns previously and get themselves set up anew. Look at the crossfire. Priestley's playing in the middle of the map over by cannons. Nobody was expecting the jump to come through. Bendy doesn't have an angle at this. He needs to go big inside of Stables, and there's so much to do. So many Fisher Falcon players just sprinting at him. Brandon's there for the assistance. Bendy will hold on.
Yeah, Bendy was completely screwed, for being honest, but he got help at the exact right moment before the shell could come through, and now he's putting together a spree. He gets the 3, 220 to 211. Gunzy and the Fisher Esports squad are on the hard point for now. They will have an opportunity to win it if they can hold every single second, but it's very unlikely. St. Clair still working to the middle of the map. Brandon for 1. Rex with the trade. Fisher off the hard point for now, and we will see another hill.
Split spawns coming through for the Saints. Are Fisher going to be aware of this? Are they going to be ready for it? And of course, their setup is just godlike. Rex, Gunzy, Ramby at a combined 7 spree at one point in time. Ramby will be traded out. Brandon will find 2.
Huge
and
1v1.
Understanding that you can at least play for the future, St. Clair completely catch Fisher off guard. They're able to find a string of kills. They have the rotation to do.
Yeah, that's tough. Relays, I think you should have probably chowed that just about a second sooner, but tall ask. Oh, not a good stun here from Ramby. Nate also gets eaten up by the trophy on point. Relays comes off spawn, makes up for his mistake, finds a key kill. Fisher spawning on the right side of the minimap. Priestley, though, falls topside maps. Fisher will have a chance to try to burst their way into the site if they can get through Bendy. There's the trade. Here comes the hit. Brandon will fall. Now it's just a couple of seconds left. Relays, you're going to have to go. You need to be able to touch. Help from the middle of the map is on the way. Contest comes through. The break is good. Fisher still spawned right-hand side. There's a chance for St. Clair still to win here.
He's still going to be finding these couple kills through the middle of the map. Relays is playing underneath the truck. Looking a couple players down to the assistants.
They're doing it. Here we go. Silly for the back. He's turned away.
They did it.
Last one here is going to be Gunzy. You got to go. The contest comes through.
Gunzy!
He gets 3. Gunzy saves the map. Oh, my goodness. What a finish. And Fisher survived. But boy, did St. Clair give him a workout.
Woo, boy. How's you supposed to hit the gym with you this morning, huh, brother?
He was not there.
He was. So I gotta say, man, that 3-piece comes through, and Fisher are able to win. If Gunzy gets traded, anybody else just sneezes his way, he gets cut down. It is simply not meant to be. It is strictly business. Look at Gunzy. He knows exactly what needs to be done. He went absolutely massive for his team on so many different instances on that map. There was a lot of good setups, a lot of good assistance through the middle of the map continuously, but man, did the Saints absolutely come to play through so many different iterations of those hard points. P3 exclusively in the second set to chalk the back 20 seconds over by P2. To understand fully, they did the quick maths, Alan, to know that Fisher couldn't close on P5, so they recontested through the middle of the map. They completely collapsed on the play that was trying to be put together by Ramby top boat, and they got themselves inside of P1. But how could you ever expect Savvy, Gunzy going huge there in the final 5 seconds to find the 3-piece at one map 1?
That's unreal. St. Clair, I mean, telling you, we didn't see him at all broadcast, but you mentioned it, and it's always been reiterated every single time we get towards the end of the season. This St. Clair team always gives us some sort of shock. And it's just one of those things that it can be really difficult to turn away a 250 to a 248 map like that and be like, man, where could we have found those extra couple of seconds? There were so many moments that's like, oh, if we just stayed on a little bit longer here, a little bit longer there, but you have to shake it off and just live with the fact that you played a really competitive game of Fortress Hardpoint.
I mean, the only thing that I could possibly say, the Saints would have been able to actually close it out. It's the 3 seconds that they missed. It was a costly team that did come through on P5 in the set prior to what we just saw being concluded. Now, obviously, I'm grasping at straws here, brother. I'm sure that the Saints are probably sitting there thinking to themselves, too, like, where could we have possibly gone a little bit better? But it's just so tough to be able to truly gauge. Maybe that team kill numbers would have been in their favor. Winning moment coming through from Fisher. Gunzy popping off. Everybody fist bumps all around, knowing that the work has been done. It's a close shave, to say the least, but hey, I mean, Fisher going to be able to take that opening map, and that's a good pep into your step, especially when Rex drops 3,700 damage on their forehead. I mean, that's just absurd within its own self. 24 of those kills were not traded out of the 33, only 30 seconds within the OBJ, but I mean, how can you not talk about Gunzy? Like, a minute and 40 within the hard point, 29 and 26. 10 of his kills came through the objective, and 20 of those kills were non-traded.
Yeah, I mean, talk about do it all. And the same thing can be said for Priestley on the other side. 30 and 24, 3,100 damage, 2 minutes and 18 seconds at the hard point. I mean, come on. Can't ask for much more besides that. Yeah, 14 objective kills, as you're pointing out. That's pretty massive. Almost half of his kills came on the OBJ. Yeah. That's unreal.
And that's why we constantly talk about Priestley. And it's funny, too. Like, the conversation always comes around. We had that conversation last year with, like, Fame, and the same thing comes around from a lot of different players this year. It's like, he keeps going up to Priestley. He's like, why won't you compete? You're nasty, brother. But, you know, there's only so much you can do when you're going up against, you know, top amateurs, world champions. So, you know, it's
yeah, things like that.
2 points is what is going to be the difference maker as far as map number 1 is concerned. And now the road to win a best-of-5 series for the Saints becomes a little bit more treacherous. We talked about how they needed to potentially steal a respawn. They almost got away with it. But now you go into the Embassy Search and Destroy, and you really do feel like you have to have it. We've seen this so many different times from the Saints camp through the regular season, through a lot of online play, that they look very comfortable on a map mode combination of Embassy Search.
Gotta have it. That's the thing, is you missed an opportunity there to take your hardpoint win. And with the way that it goes, with only having 3 maps in the pool, like, technically speaking, Team B gets maps 2, 3, 4 to pick from. Like, that's their wagon to completely take the caravan home on. So now you have to essentially win this search and destroy, in my mind, because the Expo control is going to be unpredictable, to say the least. We talked about it yesterday just a bunch, you know, when these teams had last played through things like the regional playoffs and the last chance LAN qualifiers. Expo, I don't even think was in the pool at that point. It may have been released, but I don't think we were playing it competitively. So not a lot of experience playing in this competitive environment on that map regardless. And that's where you look to a team like Fisher, who has players that are either coaching or do things currently in challengers where they're going to have a lot of experience and be able to make the calls subconsciously, where a team like St. Clair may not have had the same level of reps on it.
They do have a lot of time playing together for the entirety of the year. I mean, what, besides, like, Bendy, who played in a couple, like, opens? I know he was at Toronto. But, like, this team mostly plays together. And that type of synergy, even a slight bit of cohesion, is why Fisher have fallen flat. Again, this has been the woe of Fisher through the entirety of the weekend, the search and destroy. Been a short time since you lost to Oklahoma Christian last night in the hotel. What have you learned ahead of a big map number 2 here versus the Saints?
I think we can expect that Gunzy's going to want to be a playmaker.
That's a good shout.
Bendy will snipe, opening up. No. Looking over towards tennis. Nothing's here. Fisher have their focus into getting into laundry, and they get Gunzy forward already. So talk about a playmaker. He's already up and very, very aggressive. And St. Clair are not even looking for this. They think this is just all a long A hit, and oh my goodness, Gunzy's going to be hearing everything. As soon as he gets contact, or if he sees these days being tossed, he's going to pop the door, find the kill. Perfectly done. Relays does secure 1 trade, but Gunzy slips the net. Brandon in the corner. Sebtex will push him off, and with that, the ball will be planted. 3v2 post play for Fisher.
Bendy with the sniper. You also got Brandon with an SMG, and they already know that he's bottom kitchen. Everything relies on Bendy at least finding 1 pick here.
Brandon's still holding. He just cannot commit. He knows that Gunzy's nearby somewhere. Finally makes his move. But he falls. Gunzy gets the pick. Nice shot from Bendy, but that is a very, very difficult 1v3 to go through, committing into the map like that. And with that, Gunzy did make the play. Found 3 in the round.
Talk about an egregious call for round 1 as well. I mean, if Gunzy gets taken down, luckily enough, he's not the bomb carrier, but I mean, it's just the sheer ability that nobody defensively was watching the Xbox lane. It's very typical that you'll see like either a sniper or an AR watching that line of the cross over towards B. No trophy systems round 1, and Gunzy just absolutely exploits that 1 call. Just gets through laundry seemingly for free. Gets all the audio cues in the world, and then just collapses on the point of contact that Rampy got on the opposite side.
And that's the part of it too. No trophies, so you didn't see any nades tossed over towards tennis for Fisher. They just threw them all mid. Bendy sniping up top. Rex falls. Good first blood. That should surely lead to Priestley playing, but look at this long and very early flank coming out. Gunzy's got the dead silence out. Bendy trying for what looked to be a no-scope, and Gunzy will just John Wick the sniper rifle out of the air. Priestley right over the top of the pop site. Septex comes through will not land, but it does provide an exit. Gunzy now on to 4. Reflank coming out from Relays, who has now made his presence known, but he does find a kill in the process. So this is a very tough 2v3 situation. Relays is going to get a double, and Gunzy very well meant to see this round come to an anticlimactic end as he's on 4, and I'm sure would like to stay that way.
Yeah, absolutely would love that. Relays is quickly maneuvering his way up. Gunzy with the sniper. He is truly a Swiss Army knife for this Fisher Esports roster. That bomb's got to detonate, whether Gunzy wants it to or not. He's up on 5 in a row, and that's the right call regardless. Just do not give him more isolated 1v1s, but Relays is going to find him, so that's a big kill to find for yourself. The Saints are going to be able to put themselves on the board off of a very fast B hit. Round number 2, you got trophy systems. You can keep yourself safe from those early nades, but man, I got to tell you, you got to start keeping your head on a swivel because that guy, Gunzy, is going to become quickly a problem so many times that he's going to try to find some flanks. Just needs at least 1 or 2 more teammates to stay alive on the opposite side, and Fisher should have an easy day.
Nice round, though, for Relays. Gets 3. Good timing on that repitch, too. I mean, that's just one of those things that you can see the round going really far askew real quickly with a double flank coming out from Fisher with speed off that dead silence. For Relays to kind of bounce back, hit the same route, perfectly done. So 1-1 we go. Fisher, very patient on their approach over towards A, but Bendy punishes. Actually, I think he may have seen more. Silly. Lucky to be alive, I'll say that much. Like a fish out of water right there.
A fisher out of water.
Stop it.
Sorry. 3v4. Relays is just tasked to hold this lane. Brandon's expecting maybe a push to come through. Now, keeping your life there is just about everything. Should at least be some semblance of information. They're not coming towards B, but the middle of the map is open.
Same situation. St. Clair learned their lesson, though, and Brandon's going to go check it. A little sloppy from Silly, but still finds the kill, no problems. He's the bomb carrier as well, so you kind of threw out the hypothetical if Gunzy was in this position and the bomb carrier. If you drop, now this becomes a very different round. 2v3 situation, and Rex is close to his dead silence, but you're looking at Ramby to make the play. Oh, it's a huge gunfight win versus Relays. Gets the kill, resets the dead silence, backs out. Rex, other side of this. Oh, and Bendy's trying to check through mid. They've all lost each other. And now kind of shoes on the opposite foot for both teams. Bob gets collected. Priestley trying to chase it down. Finds the shots, gets the kill. Ramby gives him a try, but no. Big double comes through, and St. Clair take the round.
What was that? Very interesting development of that round. Dead silences on both different sides. Everybody passing each other. 2 ships in the night. Just the only thing separating them was a wall or high to low ground. But, I mean, Priestley, patient as ever. He was just waiting top bridge, was expecting the push to come through mid off of the previous point of contact from Brandon, swan diving his way inside of Kitchen. And then the collapse soon to follow as well. I mean, I will say that much. Ramby, with that opening pick, the top side of the trailer, I honestly thought was going to be the immediate call, especially for Rex popping dead silence coming back through the middle of the map. Not the case. St. Clair win 2 in a row.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of little song cues that just players could not quite track down. Bendy's still sniping. Oh, and Silly is on the other side of this, but they don't expect Ramby to be up close by Xbox. Priestley can't secure the trade. So we'll go to a 4v3 for Fisher, but they are still pushed up pretty far. There's still a chance for St. Clair to isolate these players defensively over towards the same side, and Brandon gets a lot of damage, but hesitation towards the middle of the map, and rightfully so. Rex is watching it. Ramby turns his attention to find another, and now it's just down to Brandon for the 1v4.
You were just so trapped. All of that first blood, every single lane is being watched. Brandon has dead silence, but I would reckon he probably doesn't want to pop it. Shouldn't. In 1v4 versus these guys, probably never going to happen. And Fisher, again, just all off of that very small adaptation. To expect that Bendy would be sniping across that A lane again, it is absolutely the case. Read him. Difference is that or at least one player wasn't alone. Ramby was right there.
Yeah.
As you were saying, there's no way you would expect for Ramby to also be that up close on that P2 plateau. So great decision-making coming through from Fisher to at least overwhelm what has been a problem in the early 5 seconds of these rounds, and that's Bendy with the boomstick. Oh, going to be able to at least break the mold, get themselves back up to even rounds into round number 5. Now, Fisher, what adaptations do you have for us on your offense?
What a peculiar search this has been. We have yet to see a big scuffle over towards B yet. Nades haven't really been tossed that direction. Really hasn't been much focus on the cross from either side. A lot of this has been fought like right here in the admin hallways. Bomb is leaning B, but Fisher are stacked over towards A. Gunzy's sniping with the bomb, mind you. He's looking for a chance to find Bendy, who has put the scope down, takes an aggressive challenge, and will win first blood, and all of a sudden Fisher are kind of stuck. Relays is real close by. That'll do well for one. He does not quite get out with his life, but still, this is a very good 3v2 for the Saints.
It's going to be an isolated play. Rex has to go on his own to over towards Potts. He knew that Bendy would probably still be over here. He was right, but did not win the gunfight. Now Ramby would have to be the entire ace. Gets the 1 versus Brandon. Can't get the gunfight victory. And I love that call coming through from the Saints. Expecting that maybe Fisher might try to be more aggressive this time. They're playing rather passive in towards the back, playing for that pick with Gunzy again, sniping with the bomb over by Potts. His teammates were all inside of the administration hallways, mostly over towards P2. And there was nobody in a position to maybe try to find that trade onto Gunzy and maybe try to force out the 3v3. And as you called out, when Bendy puts away the sniper, you had 2 players aggressively encroach through the middle of the map, just expecting the challenges to come all the way through. They hold the line there. The challenges came their way, and they were just able to do it via the kills. 1 round lead now for the Saints.
Here we go. This is going to be all 8 members over towards B this time. Bendy sniping over the top. Here comes the equipment for the bomb. Rex gets the top AC. This will feel very orthodox compared to what we normally see on this map. Pixel hunting is Bendy. Bomb does not get planted. First blood. Tallied though for St. Clair. Priestley still holding. Nades will come out. That will be enough likely to allow this bomb to start going down, but still, Priestley not committing. Finally starts to get this thing in, but still is at an angle to possibly get this exit. Gunzy's also pitching from the side. Gunzy, sloppy! Oh no! Brandon finds the kill. Gunzy misses out on not just 1, but 2 eliminations. Silly tries to follow up. That will work out. 2v2 we go. From a 2v4 situation. Brandon Relays hitting through orange. Oh my goodness, how aggressive is that from Brandon? And the Saints start to roll.
Didn't see anything over on the lane that Brandon was holding. Rips that silence, comes up through the middle of the map. Up through orange, he will fly. I mean, that was an uncharacteristic sloppiness from Gunzy. I will say that much. You saw what he wanted on the screen. He had reads on both the players. He wanted the first over by the sign, then transfer over towards Brandon. And then the moment that Brandon finds that kill onto Gunzy, just again rips that silence back through the middle of the map, gets the easiest flank I've ever seen on Embassy to upset Fisher to try to stop that B push from happening. St. Clair Saints now have a 2-round lead.
Yeah, Brandon's on 4. Defense getting aggressive through A. Ramby has to call out these sound cues. Bomb's going to go down really quickly, though. How does St. Clair want to set up this post-play at retake? You'd think you're going to send someone deep around the back, but there's been no contact yet. So this flank is not necessarily a guarantee. Brandon's still holding up top. Relays across the map. Gets a kill on directs. One of the straightest shooting players in Challengers? Are you kidding me? And now Priestley pushes forward. Trades go back and forth. But you got to check the bomb, make sure no one's on for the defuse. Bendy, puts it off of the right pocket of Gunzy, who has to reset, has dead silence, and the time favors him. It just comes down to does he check it in time. He sees Bendy up top this time. No sloppiness. Clean shots from Gunzy in the same position. The double works out, and Fisher get us back to within 1.
We will not be having sloppy joes for round number 7. Thank you, Gunzy. Big kills to at least speak of, and again, as you were talking about, I mean, the timing was just on his side. I don't care how many numbers you have on the opposite. The bomb was planted for the flank, whether or not Gunzy wanted to continuously play up through top servers. Bendy misses the shot just a bit on the outside, and Gunzy was just like, nope, no thank you. I don't want anything to do with that staircase anymore. I will just rip that silence and come back through the middle of the map, and it works out wonderfully for Fisher, who get that very fast bomb plant over by B. Bring this back within 1, and St. Clair Saints, they liked how the last offense went. Back to B they go.
At least the nades are. Whoa, they're just going to get Brandon forward for now. Priestley's trying to follow up. Rex goes back to top AC. Double hit through orange, though, for Fisher. Defense adjusts and moves, but the trophy system doesn't keep Rex alive. Frag does trade it out. We stay 3v3. Priestley's still on top of this bomb site, but he's going to need a little bit of help. And yeah, that stun confirms that Fisher is not out of danger here at B yet.
Man, patience as ever. Ramby loads out, goes over towards Vans, was expecting a chow to come through the middle of the map. He will get delivered on that cause. Priestley, you feel like this play mostly is going to come from him, considering that Benny's going to be sniping top admin.
Yeah, he needs to make noise, though. He needs to see someone pop up and to give Bendy a chance. But instead, he's going to try to maybe wrap this all the way back over towards A. This is a very scary call. He's going to have an open sight. Rampy's taking a super long flank as Fisher is pretty sure that this is going to be a B hit. Now that Priestley's gotten out of earshot range, he's going to see that, okay, A's open. And hold on. If he can plant this for the outside, there's a chance that Bendy can still get back over towards trucks and hold this post plant. Gunsy gets the read. They're not towards B. Got to come over. Trying to find the exit. Priestley gets taken down. Now it's just down to Bendy. Pistol in hand. He's going to play this from the inside of Kitchen. Bold to say the least. And Fisher will take 2 in a row and tie us at 4.
2 rounds in a row. Gunsy with dead silence becomes an immediate issue. Just fully aware, right? I mean, all of the information that ends up coming through, right, is that for Gunsy, when you get that confirmation that you have Ramby all the way around the flank, Gunsy's just like, well, that means our A-bomb is more than open, brothers. So he just pops dead silence, comes sprinting back over. Post-plan situation, doesn't matter. Gunsy finds himself up on 6 in a row. Casual stuff out of Sabby. 11-4 here in the Embassy Search and Destroy.
Killing spree, gets to 5 in his first life, gets to 6 in his, 4th life? So that's been how he's found every single one of his kills so far. It's been stringing together. It's been rounds that Fisher have been able to also put together sequentially. So 4-4 we go. Cruise missile earned. Gunsy up top. Flying out window.
Yeah.
Sees no one on the cross. Does catch relays, but most importantly,
Oh, God.
there's a first blood to the other side of the map, and Gunsy doesn't have to commit to this. Silly actually gets a second, but the defense for St. Clair, if you could take down Gunsy, maybe there's a chance here still to hold this 2v4. Just comes down to, can you actually feel confident enough to take that chow?
Oh, I would. You almost have to. Brandon's going to effectively give up the angle. Gunsy's not sticking the plant. Just because of the lack of information that the Saints have. Gunsy finally going to stick the plant? Or is he? Playing with my heart right now. As the overwatch of just about everybody realizes expecting the flank to come through server. Brandon's just going to jump down from server, 1v4 from relays, and well, if you can tell by the camera in my voice, Alan, I don't necessarily think it's going to be happening. It's looking like Fisher to take a 1-round lead.
Yep, that's exactly the case. 3 in a row here. Oh, boy.
What a cool opening, too. And it was all set up to immediately punish what Saints have been trying to find continuously through the defense. This time, 2 players strong end up just rushing straight over by the Xbox side. They get shut down from Ramby just playing on the Godheady on the backside of the pickup truck. You have at least 1 player for Fisher overwatching Gunsy, who just put on his cape. Cal came flying out that top admin window.
Yeah.
And he was about 1 shot, but nobody was in a position to try to get that kill because the overwatch was just that good, as St. Clair Saints were continuously trying to play for that long flank.
It's a great idea timing-wise, too, because St. Clair hasn't been throwing a lot of nades on this mid-cross. This time, Fisher throws their own. Silly trying to get aggressive. Lots of damage, but doesn't get the kill. He's actually going to fall first, but does force the team kill out. So he stayed 3v3 bomb down. Fisher on the rotation defensively, and Gunsy once again through mid-map. Not going to find the same bits of sloppiness from the first time through. Tries to get aggressive versus relays. Who does secure the trim. We have a lot of time here for this 2v2.
Bomb still needs to get recovered, though, and that becomes the immediate issue, right? Bendy's sniping top admin. You would assume that Relays is probably playing with an AR. No, Bendy does have attack 56 in hand, so this becomes a little bit more doable. Very close to dead silence and a lot of time to play with.
They're going to take a full wrap through A. Problem is Ramby's watching this. Yep. Should be traded, and is. 1v1. Bendy's already popped the dead silence. Rex has rotated early over towards A, but this will allow the bomb to get collected. Bendy, of course, very aware that Rex likes to play top AC. And his dead silence will expire just as he gets to the top of AC. Oh, boy. Rex is going to rewrap this through admin side. But the bomb is going to be planted for the defensive side of the map. Bendy can just back up, play the back corner. This is something that Charlie Hicksey would do. And he's going to have the timing here. Rex has got to clear so much space. Bendy just has to throw shoulders. Rex clears out mid. Now takes his attention forward. Bendy doesn't see anything at the moment. 25 on the clock. Rex has to make the move. He's got an idea. Bendy has got to come back to check this. Does Rex still hold this the entire way? Oh, he gives it up at the exact wrong moment. And now the clock is going to be an issue. He hides behind the palm tree. Bendy pops out. Does lose the gunfight, but it doesn't matter. We're going around 11.
Oh, man. That is Call of Duty timing in a literal nutshell. That is absolutely insane. Bendy did everything right.
Yeah.
I mean, dead silence, you called it as well, Alan. He knows that Rex likes to play top server more often than not. He clears all of it, drops back down, plants it for the defensive side because it's the point of what he cleared, and whether it's his teammates communicating it or not, Rex was on the longest flank possible, all the way through admin, had so much to clear, sees where the bomb is planted for. There's only realistically 2 spots that he could be playing at that point for Bendy on the backside of servers. Round 11, St. Clair stands on offense.
It's a quick hit towards B, too. Same push through coming through. Nades through mid. Fisher are not throwing any nades here towards tennis. They're trying to overwhelm this. It's going to be a full stack over through top and this little double hit over through orange. Look how late these nades are. And that's enough just to allow this cruise missile they called in, but it's not going to find. Oh, it does find 2. They don't get the trophy down, or I don't know what just happened. They didn't commit into orange. And Fisher are going to see the success of Gunzy bail them out here. Again. Second map in a row.
16-5. Relays nowhere near dead silence. He's going to have to do this the hard way. Sees the nameplate, just a pixel of Gunzy. Ramby's just going to cut back through the middle of the map. They're just going to throw some shots towards Relays. There is just no shot in hell that you get yourself out of this. Silly on the opposite side gets him down low. Can't even win the gunfights, and Fisher get bailed out once again by Gunzy. Bottom right side of your screen. Goodness me, is that kid on something today? A lovely smile to boot. I tell you, man, like, I was wondering the entire time when he gets that cruise missile, when do you call it in? Saving it for a round 11 is a very bold call, and I can't necessarily blame them. I mean, they were definitely not necessarily always outsmarting them, but certainly outmaneuvering the majority of what St. Clair were trying to throw at the table, as you were talking about, late adaptations as far as nades are concerned, where their throwables were being replaced at. And, man, Fisher going to take a 2-0 lead here. I'm sure St. Clair did not have that on their bingo card coming into Championship Sunday.
I mean, it's just one of those things that you could see it starting to come. And St. Clair have to get a read in that last round that there are no nades being thrown as we're approaching this B site. I think at that point you have to back off.
Yeah.
You have to assume there are going to be counter nades being tossed. And then once all that comes out, you can actually re-hit again with that trophy system down to stop the cruise missile. But that doesn't happen, and that little bit of lack of awareness ends up biting the Saints in the rear again. Gunzy gets the final 3 kills in the hard point. He gets 3 out of the 4 here in round 11. Oh, it's just so tough because both maps were obviously so winnable for St. Clair. But it feels like it's going to be one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda maps. Maybe even a woulda, coulda, shoulda series at this point.
2 points in the hard point difference. Round 11 in the search and destroy. Just mere inches, Allen. Millimeters almost is how close some of these rounds and these 2 maps have honestly gone. I mean, Gunzy is just, again, his tweet definitely sang through the halls of Belong Gaming's arena before we even arrived that he is coming different today. This is his champs, and he is definitely showcasing all of that plus some more. The decision-making, the shots, barring one round, was just absolutely sublime. These plays, these flank plays continuously were just a problem. And it started early as well, where he just completely snuffs out the one position that's not being held in the middle of the map. He starts putting a lot of doubt into the Saints camp about our flanks need to be secure. We need to make sure the middle of the map is at least closed off, because Gunzy is going to constantly try to find these flanks. But even in the 1v2s, the 1v3s, off the information from Ramby, who went for the long flank, and Gunzy rips Dead Silence to come back across the bridge and beat them both 1v2 for the A-bomb defuse. It's just savvy things. It's Gunzy's world, and we're just living in it.
I'm trying to, I don't think we're going to see here, no. I was going to say, if we got the opening, if there was a trophy that was tossed on their initial approach, because then all those nades that started to come through obviously take care of the trophy for the Cruise to find the success. It felt like that was the case, but it was hard to see in real time. But that would be where the assumption would land, is that that was indeed what happened. 16-5 for Gunzy, 1,700 damage. Ramby goes 8-7 with 1,200, so he was definitely involved throughout the entirety of that map. On the other side, you know, Relays, Bendy, good map out of him, but it's just one of those things that, man, it feels like there was a big missed opportunity for St. Clair in a couple of rounds, especially that last one, obviously.
Sure. 4 first bloods for Bendy, 3 for Gunzy, on 2 different tales of the weaponry, right? I mean, Bendy with the sniper was absolutely electric, finding a lot of first bloods. He was out sniping and out dueling Dylan Rex. How many people even in Challengers can say that? Not many. That's the answer. Gunzy, though, again, with the SMG was an immediate problem. Even pulling out the sniper rifle at certain points in time was definitely something that you can always count on Gunzy to try to throw another wrench in the system. 2-0 lead for Fisher. Falcons looking to start off their championship Sunday hot.
Well, it's going to be Expo Control coming up next before we head off to break. Want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Fandom, and of course, Nelnet Bank, as they are out there trying to help you guys get all set up and ready to go for college. Learn more from Nelnet Bank by visiting them at nelnetbank.com, member FDIC. There's a lot of resources out there on their website that can help you kind of get yourself ready to go financially if you're pursuing college, whether as a high school student now or someone who's looking to return back to the collegiate space. With that, we send things off to just a brief break. We come back. It is the Expo Control do or die time for St. Clair. See how it happens. We come back after the break. Oh, we got a tight one here, friends. 2-0 to Fisher Esports, but only just barely. 250, 248, and a 6-5 throughout our opening hardpoint and our search and destroy. Leaving Expo now for our control. And we keep talking about the simple fact that for Fisher, they've looked vulnerable in the searches, they've looked vulnerable in the controls. We've seen not just vulnerability in the search already. We saw vulnerability in the hardpoint, too. Just comes down to, can St. Clair actually get one of these maps over the finish line into their favor?
It's a 2-0 lead, but it's probably the most competitive 2-0 that you could probably ever ask for going into the Himlat Expo. I mean, just winning the opening map by 2 points, a round 11 search and destroy, settled by Gunzy's 3-piece, settled by Gunzy's Shriek in the round 11 as well, settled by Gunzy. Yeah, Gunzy. He is having himself a fantastic series so far. And to be quite candid, that could be a continuation leading into the Expo Control. It really does pander to the style that Gunzy does bring to the table. Now, that said, this entire St. Clair Saints roster is certainly bringing the heat today. Their teamwork is at an all-time high. They were also keeping up with the slaying pressure that was being developed in that Fortress map number 1. You're going to need all of that in a bag of chips, especially for this map number 3 if you want to start this with first sweep.
Yeah, the full Biggie size combo right here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really funny to see the St. Clair team. You know, we keep talking about how good they've been and how they come to these events at the very end of the year, whether it be on LAN last year or on online portions through years previously, and they always just come out looking like they're just a menace. And it's one of those things that you feel like they just don't care what names are on the other side of the screen, because I think a lot of players would be like, brother, we're playing up against like literally some of the top challengers players of all time. And they just don't care. Nope. They're like, no, we beat these guys. We got it. Just comes down to can they actually, like we mentioned, finish off one of these maps. The Himmelbad Expo has been one of those we've seen. Actually, a lot of teams have played this weekend so far. We've seen more Expo than anything else. I don't think we've really seen any of CCL be played, maybe outside of maybe a couple that were off broadcast, or maybe we had one. But, boy, I'll tell you, it's been a lot of Expo a lot of the time. And this opening will be St. Clair on the offense. Nades from Fisher. Congesting the A zone. Still allows Priestley to jump on. Brandon, bottom side bar, not quite going to win his first gunfight, leaving down Priestley by himself, and he'll be stunned, leading to a Fisher retake.
Yep. Completely stuffing that initial A push. Didn't exactly come at a steep cost. Now did it. The biggest issue is that now you're spawning parallel over towards B. The defensive members for Fisher are mostly trying to settle themselves in, or at least a spawn trap. The only player that's here is going to be Gunzy to maybe try to deny it. Ends up going at least 1-for-1, losing Ramby along the way. So I'll have to be worried about him. Gunzy is ready to contest, but that second segment looking pretty locked.
Yeah, but you do have Brandon off spawn. He's looking for Rex on the backside, just can't quite find him. Second to progress will be allowed to come through. A bit surprising, and with Gunzy being so close, thought he was going to give it a go, but his kills come just a little bit too late, and with that, Bendy's still on the zone. Relays is keeping Silly at bay, and he's really the only person who can come through and contest. Nade up top gets tossed, but yeah, that's going to likely be the zone here. That's going to be one last contest from Rex, but it's individual. And how about 2 minutes and 5 seconds on the clock with still 22 lives here for the Saints?
Fisher, again, their biggest play was mostly just trying to get players over by the blue tent, over by the bus, and making sure that they get players around the bar. But, I mean, Gunzy, he was there for a very long time. Like you talked about, they were at least putting the players in a position to maybe try to contest it very late. But you stabilize the map for now. Have a 3-life lead to boot for Fisher. It's just about shaving away that clock. Biggest player to got to be on the worried about for is Relays as well as Bendy on that flank from behind.
This is a little too heavy-handed for me, for Fisher trying to play all the way through bus side. They're going to lose Sonic control, which means that the Saints just have to trade these players out, and they're going to be able to hold on to the bottom side of the minimap, maybe for an opportunity to just to jump on, start finding some progress. Yeah, well done here by St. Clair. Clock will stop as Relays jumps on for a moment. He does get traded out. Ramby trying to find Bendy, and he does secure the kill. Okay. Fisher will regain bottom part of the minimap, and now you've got an opportunity to once again continue to try to play forward.
I mean, again, that setup was mostly, it could spiral out of control. 4 kills coming through the back. Ramby gonna hold that for lunch. Brandon will take him down, but it's the only kill that St. Clair have been able to find in the last string of, what, about 5, maybe 6. 18 plays up against 14 currently. Again, still trying to jostle for map positioning. Saints really, I mean, they do have the time to maybe try to play for a long flank again, knowing damn well that Fisher are playing in a very similar approach.
Silly. Oh, gets another one. Tagged up heavy. Brandon eventually secures the trade. Numbers for St. Clair starting to work through bar side. Priestley trying to get his way back over towards the sauna part of the map, but it's not really going to work out, so St. Clair will take a long route back through glass. Lots of lives starting to amount here for Fisher. Only now 40 seconds on the clock as St. Clair a bit pinned up in their spawn. Gunzy, you feel like he's about to do something wild from this position, but no, Priestley does kind of scout him out from behind the vans. So that leads to a couple of kills, and now St. Clair can make their approach back over towards A.
Relays is looking for anything. Oh man, Silly. I thought he had Relays dead to rights. Relays with the snap up to 6-2 now. And that's going to force a lot of defenders to try to find him while the rest of the Saints are on the A zone, still on the clock at 24.
And everything just gets wiped immediately. Good pickup from Fisher. St. Clair trying to work their way through the bottom hallways or top stairs. Silly's able to take down one. That kill is actually pretty important because now this is essentially the final hit. No one's going to be able to get there in time, nor will the kills be convincing enough to really allow them much progress whatsoever. Fisher lead for 2+ minutes around the A zone, only giving away the B point after the first initial attempt for the Saints was pushed away.
And again, that's why we're seeing so many teams like not put a lot of stock into trying to get that B control zone back in their favor, because A really is the end-all be-all, and that spawn trap is quite damning again. And you can have 2 minutes on the board. Your biggest play, if you're not going to try to deal with the player that's over by the bar steps, that's over by the tents, and over by the buses, then you just have to commit what is about like a 30-second flank all the way through the already captured B control zone and come from behind. And the Saints did get a couple players in said positioning, but then you better hope that your teammates are able to find success through the front. Always the former, never truly the latter. So Fisher will hold on, only allowing 3 segments to come through.
Big team shots coming right down the snow path in towards A. 3 members on for the opener to get this first tick of progress. Lock, Silly, trying to feel things out towards bar. Brandon up top, big elimination. He can turn this into maybe more as the rest of St. Clair are trying to challenge and contest this from the front, but the kills are just not good enough. Fisher's going to get the second tick of progress. Nade's on the way in. Brandon from the side, not quite able to find anything as Gunzy gets the shutdown. Priestley, the last one left, and he just gets obliterated. St. Clair reeling here defensively early, only finding 3 kills off their break.
Oh, Ramby's feeling himself. He's at 5 in a row. It is a 3-for-7 trade off the opening rip. And Fisher have 2 minutes left to play to capture the easier of the 2 zones. They already have a very forward approach. Then he's trying to find where Ramby's located at. He will end up finding him off screen. Nonetheless, you have St. Clair still trying to get control of the projector room. They will find success in just that.
Yeah, if you can get this side staircase, that could be huge in keeping Fisher spawning a little bit further away. Next hit for Ramby. Slow in nature, just trying to work his way back up towards top bar. Relays there to meet him, and we'll push him away, no worries. Bendy now around the back. This could 100% find a couple. He gets the first without any concern. Second tested, but Gunzy, goodness, finds the kill. Leads to Fisher getting out of spawn, but St. Clair still have a lot of forward defensive pressure. Gunzy next one up, goes to the drop shot. Priestley beats it, but Silly's there for the trade. Knives still stay with the Saints, though, defensively.
Trades are good. You're starting to lose track of a few players. Rex is on the B control zone, and you got to get him off of that as well. That's going to pull a lot of defenders back. Have they lost track of Ramby as well? Rex finds one on the point. He's going to get traded. Ramby, though, just running past enemy players. Gunzy will at least find one before he drops. Now it's just Gunzy left on the zone. Silly's not too far behind, but the numbers starting to sway in St. Clair's favor.
So good from Gunzy. He's even going to get relays and now can step even further forward into the expo hall if he wants to, but instead just backs up, triple stacks us with the rest of his teammates. St. Clair, they've got to find a way to go. Bendy is not in a position to contest this up top yet. Third tick of progress on the way. Who's going to touch this? Contest starts to come in. Brandon for one. Brandon gets a second. Turned away. Priestley, he's got to finish everything. Last player left is Rex, and it's Relays who scouts him out. Third tick depleted, 12v12.
Wipe the sweat off your brow. Now you have a minute left to hold on to a single segment over by B. Trades are still coming through. Gunzy's picking up where he left off. Finds Sue. Ramby's there for the third, back of the zone.
2 members stacked up. No one's nearby. There's no way. He's not going to get there. It's just too clean on transition. St. Clair spawning way too far away. And Fisher will see themselves go up now 2-0 in this control. And, man, I'll tell you, Gunzy's is coming different today, man.
I told you. I warned you before we even went live on air. I was like, I feel like Gunzy's going to come crazy today. And, yeah, he's delivering on that so far.
I'll say.
But that's what you get, especially for this Fisher roster, right? I mean, you saw Saints try that in their opening offense, but Fisher found wildly more success, and it's mostly just in the slaying. I mean, 16-9 for Gunzy, 11-8 for Rex. Ramby's 10-7 as well. Silly's even at 13-13, and they were able to get on that A zone just damn near uncontested. Now the Saints, to start the reverse sweep, has to start with a reverse sweep of the control.
Playing over onto A first. And the opener from Fisher, just too cool and collected. Relays a couple of bullets into Ramby. Long-range gunfight eventually comes his way. Contest is on. Priestley's on the A zone. He's got help from teammates as well. Okay, maybe a chance here. Rex will get one, but nothing more. This should be at least one tick of progress here for St. Clair. Two members will stack it. Relays is trying to contest anyone over towards Sauna side. Oh, but Ramby beats him to the angle. Now all of a sudden Fisher can start to flood their way back in. That was Brandon trying to get back over towards the more safe part of the zone. Bendy trying to take as many Fisher members as he can, but that second tick of progress was not locked, and Fisher will deplete it.
And Ramby's already over here towards B. Bottom projector room is going to get overwhelmed with a handful of players, but now Rex, he doesn't have dead silence, but I don't think he even needed the way that he flies. Going to get the 1v1 versus Priest, going to get the better of him. Now glow control is here. The only player that was on the B control zone was Relays, and Silly top projector room will deal with him in kind. It's a big scuffle happening over by the snow path, over by the buses. Gunzy will at least go 1-for-1, but now it's going to turn that into diner control. The Saints are still trying this all day.
Rex is just beaming right now. 17-9 off the reload. Nearly had a chance on to Bendy, but it doesn't make much of a difference. There's only one Saints member who's been able to work their way over towards A, because Rex is just destroying everybody on this back patio. 23 plays 14. Only the single tick towards A. St. Clair cannot get through Dylan Rex, who almost, I think he may have actually fully ran out of ammunition right there. 23 seconds on the clock, and it feels like the Saints may have ran out of steam.
Double positive, got a spree in your back pocket. Rex respawns, wins his opening gunfight. Bendy trying to find the trade. Bendy will find said trade. Priestley there for the next as well. Back on the A zone, it's 11 plays up against 17. But if you can get this A zone, stack it, Saints. Get some players on there. You better hope that you have a trophy system. Let's not have a reprise of what happened in the previous search and destroy. And Rex brings the house down. Priestley is still alive on the zone, but gets completely overwhelmed. A zone will not be taken by the Saints.
7 lives, 7 seconds. And Rex is here. Oh, Dylan! Stop it! They've got families! 3-0 in the control. 3-0 in the series. Dylan Rex says, Gunsy, looks like you're having fun. Let me join you.
They start shooting bodies, and they just completely just cool, calm, collective fist bumps all around. That was the most convincing map out of this 3-0 for Fisher. And again, it all just starts with, what would you say, maybe like the first 20 seconds or so. The opening breakoffs just were so good for Fisher consistently. If it wasn't Rex overwatching it alongside Ramby and Silly, Gunsy was just flourishing. That boy looked crazy good in that series where he was just fully sprinting at everybody for the Saints. It was getting away with it continuously. He was always good for at least maybe the opener, sometimes 2. Could have been potentially 3. Even went on a massive spree in the opening first 2 rounds as well. Just a massive problem for St. Clair continuously through this series. As I was talking about, Alan, Expo Control just absolutely panders to the playstyle for Fisher. They have an absolute demon roster when it comes down to the slays. And Ramby also joining the likes of them as well. That's the best that I would say that Ramby has looked this entire weekend so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of feels like he's finally starting to settle in a little bit. Maybe that could be said for the whole roster at this point, because it did really feel, kind of watching Fisher on broadcast and just looking at the results, that there is some uneasiness coming into this event a little bit from them. But yeah, if you get these guys in LAN, they start to treat this like a challengers event, they're going to start turning it up, and we're starting to see that Fisher here. I mean, the ice in the first 2 maps, I think, says a lot about the composure that Fisher's is going to have, the ability to kind of force you to make errors, or at least force you to make really tough decisions. But then here, this control, never a moment where it felt like Fisher was sweating. And for reference sake, this is one of only 3 maps that they've been comfortable in win-wise so far this weekend. Everything else has been like 250 to 180s, 6 to 4s, 3-2 controls, it feels like. So, you know, this is a map that I think leads to very dangerous prospects for whoever they play next, because Fisher is looking like they've come to play today.
I mean, what, previously this was actually the same 3rd map that they played versus Oklahoma Christian, where they almost got the reverse sweep. Lost to 2-3. They also lost to the Dragons on Expo Control 1-3, and well, it looks like that little bit of odd review of the team session last night after leaving the venue worked out quite wonderfully for Fisher College. Obviously, commiserations to St. Clair. Again, another end of the year where they start to really show some real good bright spots, but it's simply not meant to be as we take a look at the stats at the end of this map number 3. And, well, I mean, Alan, who do you want to talk about? Because Rex just went absolutely crazy, 2,600 damage. Gunsy with the submachine gun was also right there as well. 17 non-traded, 19 non-traded respectfully in between Gunsy and Rex. Ramby, again, 15 and 11 for 2K damage, and although that may not be the sexiest stats to be looking at, Ramby was a problem to constantly deal with because every single time that the Saints tried to re-wrap away from where Gunzy and Rex previously were, Ramby was right there just laser beaming them as well. Had a very nice 5 spree in one of those rounds to boot.
Combined 46 and 26 for Rex and Gunzy in 3 rounds of control. Yeesh, let that sitting. The thing was, the second round ended like with still 12 v10 because the clock expired, so that had the ability to be an astronomical kill tally between those two. But here's a look back at the series. Like we mentioned, a very tight first 2 maps, 252-48, 6-5 from the first 2. But here in the Expo Control, nothing but Fisher from start to finish. So with that, St. Clair will be finished at top 6. Hell of a run from them, honestly. I mean, getting out of groups in the first place, I mean, that was a tough group. We had a lot of expectations for New Mexico State. It was their opening match as well. It kind of felt like whoever won that match was going to come out of that group third because of how good the rest of the group was. So for St. Clair, you know, got to give them credit where credit is due. But for Fisher, they stay alive, trying to kind of regain after their loss from last night. Their run continues through this lower bracket, but they have a very long way to go here proper before we can really start talking about rematches, for instance.
I don't even know if there's a conclusion right now. I know that we end up having both University of North America. They are also in a rematch versus St. Edwards right now. That would end up being another matchup that was going to be very tough. You still have Northwood, Oklahoma Christian as far as the rematch is concerned.
Yeah.
I know I'm a broken record to you, Alan, and I'll go ahead and say it again. Shark Infested Waters Brothers Championship Sunday.
Well, with that in mind, our first series today comes to an end. Our main man, Visions, finds himself down on the floor with Gunzy for the post-game interview.
It was a little bit shaky at first, but that's just how this whole weekend has gone. To be fair, me and Dylan Rex have competed like this whole Challenger season, and Silly has taken on the coaching role this season, and then Vlad, he's still competing, but just not as frequently as much. So right now we're just trying to get into the flow of things, try to get teamwork going, try to use whatever we can to be the top 2 teams.
Absolutely. It's a great start so far, right? You got the first win. You got a really clean 3-0 on the Expo. I do want to ask you about your tweet. You made a tweet the other day touching on the fact that you're not going to be at Challenger Champs. It feels, obviously unfortunate that you're missing out after the performance you've had so far in Modern Warfare 2. So what does this final day mean to you here at the CCL LAN?
I would say it's probably like my last chance to show like my talent in the Modern Warfare game. I feel like I'm really good at like towards the end of the games, and I really do like this game. And obviously, from my achievements from the first Modern Warfare, I would like to say that that should speak for itself.
Absolutely. I mean, top 2, right? For anyone that doesn't know, 2019. So now, finally, Gunzy, I just kind of want to touch on what you guys feel like you need to focus on. S&D has maybe been the only real vulnerability so far this weekend. What's it been like maybe trying to work through that with these group of guys and trying to make sure you guys are getting consistent at it, especially versus the top teams?
I would say probably just trying to play straight up more maps just because, like I said, 2 of us have played and the other 2, they don't really know like the S&D timings and stuff like that. But realistically, that's just going to come with more reps together as a team. So the longer we're in the tournament, the better we're going to look.
I love it, man. This has been Gunzy. He is now moving on to the next round. He'll be waiting to see who he plays, but we'll get over to the casters. Thank you so much. Back to you, boys.
Well, the first box has been checked, and I love that shout out from Gunzy as well, saying that the longer this tournament goes, the better they're going to look. It's going to have to be the case because they find themselves in the lower bracket, but if Gunzy and Rex are playing like that, I mean, who knows what the ceiling looks like for these guys today.
I'm not even playing and I'm inspired just looking at what Gunzy and Rex is doing on the map as well. Look, I mean, you have an S&D vet in Ramby, you have a world champion in Silly, and like even Gunzy was just talking about as well. I mean, just because Silly has been coaching the entire time doesn't mean that he's necessarily neglecting as far as the timing is concerned. It's just about kind of adapting that into the game as well. So again, great shout to say the more games that this team plays together, the bigger threat that they become.
Well, with that in mind, the lower round 1 action has come to a close, and now we're only left with 4 teams remaining. We will be crowning a champion here in the very, very near future. Do not go very far. We continue on with our playoff bracket on the backside of the break.